All right, folks, welcome back to the Property Couch podcast. And have we got an exciting episode to share with you today on another episode of our winter series? We are talking, Ben, to a delightful Property Couch listener whose energy is infectious, isn't it?
Oh, this is a wonderful transformation story. We're going to hear from Laraine, and you can just hear the excitement in her voice about what's happening in her journey as she's moving through this transformation phase and now is really open to this amazing possibility. So it's a great interview. I can't wait to get into the show.
Folks, this one is going to lift your spirits. Let's rip into the show.
Welcome to the Property Couch, where each week you get to listen to two of Australia's leading experts. Bryce Holdaway, co-host of Location Australia on Foxtel's Lifestyle Channel, co-host of Escape from the City on the ABC, and partner of Empower Wealth Advisory. Ben Kingsley, chair of Property Investors Council of Australia and the founder of Empower Wealth Advisory, named the 2018 and 2019 Property Advisory Firm of the Year. Stay tuned as they bring you the insider's guide to property, finance and money management.
All right, Ben, very exciting time for us here on the Property Couch. We are into our winter series. We are talking to a TPC listener today. Her name is Laraine Kenniff. Welcome to the Property Couch, Laraine.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. We're excited to chat with you. There's a whole range of reasons why we're excited to chat with you. There's a little email that you sent to us that we want to discuss. We won't get to that straight away, but stick around for that, folks, because it's super compelling email and it gives you a bit of an idea around why Ben and I like doing what we do. But before we get there, Laraine, let's learn a little bit about you and let's find out about what conversations were like for you growing up over the dinner table around money.
Yeah, look, the irony is my dad actually was a bank manager and we had no conversations over the table. And I've heard so many of your Property Couch where, they talk, we were the seen and not heard. Dad was a bank manager, he dealt with the finance, no one discussed anything. So it was that osmosis that you talked about where I just had to watch. Yep, watch and learn, and that was it.
So to give some context for that, Laraine, you were... you grew up in your early primary school years were in the 80s, right? In the mid to early 80s, is that right?
Yes, correct.
So that wasn't untypical for, is that right, Ben? Untypical?
Well, yeah, I'll take it. It works for me.
That wasn't untypical for that vintage, because that's the same vintage as me. Ben's a couple of years. Actually, he's lots of years older than me, lots of years older than you, but we're sort of in the same. We're in the same vicinity, and those were similar stories, right? That
Yes.
our parents didn't talk to us.
Yeah.
I wrote down that you said seen and not heard. That is definitely a mantra that was
Yeah.
when I was growing up, that kids should be seen and not heard. So
Yes.
with osmosis as the backdrop, what were the observations that you were seeing? What did you pick up? What were you observing his dad as a bank manager and how that impacted you?
I suppose the youngest memory I have, he had a little account book and he'd put like 20 and 50 cents in a savings, and we would just get this little bank book with these little weekly payments. And so I knew that was going in, but that's all we knew. There was no discussion on bills, there was no discussion on costs. I just knew that we couldn't ask for anything and we had to listen to what he said financially, which was to what Mum wanted, I suppose.
Now, when you say that money was obviously being controlled by Dad,
Yes.
was he teaching you any lessons around delayed gratification or putting that money away and watching the compound interest work?
No, he would just put it in that little old bank account booklet, and that was it.
Wow.
That's all we knew. They did buy a house when we were in our teenage years, but we weren't involved with that. So they bought a house. We just had to go along and watch a process, and mind you, we didn't want to, not going to lie. But there was no discussions on this was a way to get ahead in life. There was, we saw that they had to sell a car to buy that house. We didn't understand why we had to downgrade the car, but that's what they did. There was no discussions. It was, this is what we're doing. This is what the parents want to do, and that's what we will follow. I watched intently, but...
How many brothers and sisters?
I've got a twin sister. She watched more intently than me. I'm not going to say, I won't lie. She's very clever.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I suppose financially as well, being the bank manager's children, we moved around a lot, so we weren't very stable. We, bit of a prejudicial childhood. I didn't listen to mum and dad at all, rebelled. I failed at school, left home very early. And then I made my own way from trying to not be around my parents, I suppose. And I lived on my own. I had a job as a receptionist. I got my little weekly pay packet in an envelope and divvied out the money. So they didn't teach me any of that I remember. It's something that I had to do to survive.
So you've left home. You may not have thought that you've learnt anything, but just the fact that you opened up that pay packet and started to separate your money into different buckets, is that something that you discovered or learnt, or was it a little tip that did you watch money being organised around the table? No, none of that. So how did you discover that opportunity to organise
I think I was
finance?
just really broke and I had to make ends meet. So I lived on my own and I had to pay the bills. I don't remember ever being taught that. Maybe my parents would say that's a lie, and they did tell me something, but I don't remember them sitting. I knew that we just had to always make ends meet and always pay our bills. That was always a priority, never not pay your bills. I knew that was always have a roof over your head, be able to feed yourself, and try and advance in life.
Laraine, you've said a couple of times that you were really broken. They're your words. What does that mean, and how did you get fixed, if that's the best way to describe it? But what does it mean when you said you were really broken?
Broken or broke? You have to battle in life. So again, referring back, Dad was a bank manager. My sister was a twin, so we were being competed against, I suppose, by everybody surrounding us and including ourselves. I then failed school. She ended up going off to uni, became an accountant, did really well. I then went down I have to, can I say scrounge around, had worked as a receptionist, worked as a lab assistant, and always fighting to get ahead. Nothing was easy. I had to always do the extra shifts to try and pay for things. Or do those shifts that were at night time. But I always had goals to try and better myself. So I always focused on goals to get ahead, to always try and not go under financially, I suppose.
And with that story, you obviously wanted to make it on your own. There's obviously a real strong sense of independence.
Yes.
That, let me learn, let me touch the pot if it's hot, and that type of stuff. In terms of the maturity and development that you had around that, would there be anything that you would change about that process in terms of what it taught you and the challenges that it put in front of you that you did ultimately overcome?
I don't know. I often wonder, if we never moved, would I be further ahead than where I am now? It's delayed. I can't change that. Should I have listened more to my parents and stayed at home longer? Maybe, but it wouldn't have. I think I would just rebel more. Do you know what? It was my learning. It was my learning journey, and I had to ride it out. So maybe I shouldn't change it. Yeah, maybe this is because I joined defence as well to have that independence, and I thought that would be the best financial way. So I joined defence, and that was my way of going into nursing as well. I joined defence as a nursing officer. Yeah, so I was making my own way.
So clearly you're a doer. Clearly you're a practical person, right? So can I lean in on that moved around a lot? Talk us through what that meant for you as a kid and what impact that had, because it's interesting that the way you've just described two twins, same parents, arguably, unless you tell me otherwise, similar opportunity, and yet two very distinct pathways that you took. Was there a way that your sister processed what was happening in the world differently to you? How would you best describe that sort of divergence of paths?
Yeah, we did divert a lot, and I don't know if it was the genetics. I took after my dad, and she took after my mum. Because we were on the same path. She did really well at school. I rebelled. So yeah, we did have, although she's the one that swung me around to actually do this now, to go to the property couch and to go through Empower Wealth. So she got me there in the end. So maybe it's just we're different people.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And are you identical twins?
No, we're not.
Okay, beautiful. So, all right. Well, let's have a little pivot towards moving forward into the future. There was an email that we received, and Ben flagged it with me, and he goes, "You've got to read this." So we've checked it with you. You've had your permission that we can read this out, but it says this. Hey Ben, I'm still completely overwhelmed by the information you have given us. If this all goes to plan, it will be amazing. I just want you to know that what you're really giving me. I work in a trauma centre ED, and I've seen so much violent death, in brackets, including a teenager who was murdered on the weekend for being pregnant. I've been kicked and knocked out. I get sworn at every shift, literally. I stay for the people that we can save as a team. However, sometimes the sadness is relentless. So what today's meeting gave me was an endpoint, a goal that I can focus on, and in the end, I will get to sit by the beach on a holiday and let all of the trauma in my head rest sooner rather than later. So that's what you're giving me, an earlier chance at peace and a quiet life, and in brackets with a 2-week holiday each year by the beach. That's all I want. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Laraine. Now, to build some context around that had a really powerful impact across our entire organisation. So it started with Ben, it then went through some of our leaders, and then we actually read that out at our conference to our entire team to remind them sometimes it's pretty easy to go, we're doing this for bling, but you've reminded us very quickly that we're doing it for very human and practical and emotional needs, just so that you can define what your lifestyle by design is. And so we'd like to sort of talk to you about that a little bit more as to, obviously there's a lot of stuff that you face daily. So first of all, thank you for your service, because clearly you are an unbelievable contributor to the community. So that's number one. But number two, tell us a bit about what that felt like to get that sort of clarity and that vision for what life could be.
Oh, it was such a relief. So that weekend was a really bad weekend, and I then had that meeting with Ben, and then I talked to Nate, my husband, afterwards, and I just went, oh my God, I can get out, because he's been talking to me for a while. How can we get out and to give me peace? And can I just add, like, this is everybody, the police, the fireys, the ambulance, all the doctors and all the professionals in ED. We're all in the same boat with what we see. So I finally got to just go, there is an end. I'm not going to be 70 doing night shift in ED, having to hold the hand of a mother again when her child is lost. Or, I get to just have those people that I've touched in my job, and I get to just have them at peace and just rest and know I gave it all I can, but I don't have to do it forever. I can just let it go. Yeah.
That that obviously touched a lot, and also for further context, the Ben that you're talking about is one of our property advisors, Ben Thompson, and not necessarily me in terms of receiving that particular initial response. Now, what's really important here is, again, coming back to what Bryce was saying, the work that you do in those environments under such extreme conditions is absolutely essential for our society. And we are the beneficiaries of that particular work that you do. And you're so humble in sort of saying it's not just me, it's a team of people. And we agree, it is absolutely a team of people.
Yeah.
So the really powerful part of your story is one around how do you compartmentalize that challenge, and then, as you say, you see a pathway, and you're seeing this pathway out. Tell us about that transitional journey that you made around financial interest, and then going into getting a plan done to be able to see that pathway for you, because knowing that you've got that, you're now in a situation that you can keep doing the work that you're doing, but you've also got a plan in terms of what that story looks like.
I didn't think think I could keep going on, I won't lie. My sister and I, we went up to the beach in January this year, right? And she has a couple of properties that she has for investment. And I was always jealous, I won't lie. It's been that way for a long time. And she was talking me around and she went, you can do it. And I went, no, I can't. I'm just a nurse. I can't do that. Like, I don't have the money to do it. You're a really flat accountant and I can't do this. And she asked me to give her some sort of roundabout figures. And I said, well, this is what I've got and I'm doing reserve work for defence, but this is what I do, this is what I earn. And she went, I think you can do it. But then she said, I'm not going to give you the name of this place until you watch the Property Couches podcast. And she said the first 10. And I went, okay, fine. So I listened to those first 10 and then she went, okay, now I'll give you the name, Empower. Well, so I jumped on there. Then I did your initial hour consult and I spent my time going, these people are going to laugh at me. They're going to go, she shouldn't be on here. We can't provide her with anything. She's got no ability to pay for an investment property. And I don't know why I have this fight. I've always fought and think that I can't get these things. And then I spoke to Ben and then we went through the journey of our 5 consults and he went, you absolutely can do this. And then I sort of swung around to go, oh my gosh, I can get out. And then I went, okay, I can do this. And then he said, well, when do you want to retire? And I went, I don't know. It never actually crossed my mind. I knew I had to retire, but I didn't think I could retire. And he went 60 and went, okay, 60. And then, okay. And it just happened from there. And then it's been good. Now I know I'm going to the Whit Sundays when it's all over and I'm going to spend my 2 weeks at the Whit Sundays and send Ben an email too on that day or a postcard. But that was that turning point to go, I can actually do this and I can continue. I can keep fighting for this and I can keep being that person there at work and push on and keep seeing what I'm doing.
There's so much in that. So there's a couple of things that I want to lean in there, Laraine. First of all, I'm just a nurse. I wonder if anyone who's listening to this who can have some form of limiting belief around that. I'm just a insert whatever that is, right? But I guess the important thing for people who are listening is to understand is that there is no exclusive club for property investors. It doesn't exist. It really comes from people who have capacity that meets intent. That's really what it comes down to. So if you and a lot of the time for a lot of people, the reason they can't invest doesn't exist in the external, it exists in the internal of their mind. So what I love about what you just said is you changed the paradigm. You broke and rebuilt a belief that I can't do this. Then your sister goes, hang on, let me actually prove to you that you can. Then you've taken action because you've listened to what Ben says at the end of every podcast and you've actually taken action. And then all of a sudden you've now changed the direction of your life and with an end goal. And I think you said I can't afford it and all those sorts of things. And there's a couple of things that we can lean in on that, because when people actually lean in and they do a little bit of planning around this, what happens is you develop a vision, right? And we just read out what your vision was, but just imagine the person listening to this, they will develop a vision for their life. And what happens is when you develop a vision for your life rather than just having this wandering generality through life, is you get this laser-like focus on what's really important. And what happens is you start to cut 90% of what's not working. You start to shave costs, you get super clear, you realize that's not working for you, and you start to save money that also creates surplus. So that surplus can actually get put to work because you've got this renewed vision. And then combine that with property and property investing is a bit of an insider's game. You understand once you're on the inside how this actually works. So there's some creative things that speaking from our team's perspective, that they can do to free up cash flow so that you can then actually, so a combination of that laser-like vision and some creative strategies, bringing those together, mean that all of a sudden you go, I actually do have some surplus cash here that I can put towards investing while still having that 2-week holiday on the beach that you're doing, as well as defining what the end game is for you. So I just really wanted to lean into that because you are so humble but you represent a lot of hard-working Australians who are doing meaningful work, wonderful work, who may have a similar thought in their mind where this is just my lot in life, but you get to prove that that's not true.
Yeah. Your More account, it was funny. I started doing the More account with Ben, and I was filling it all out for him. And then he goes, "You've got this much surplus coming in this year." And I went, "Oh, no, I don't." And then he's like, "Well, hang on, where are we getting it wrong?" And I went, "Oh, there must be something wrong." And I was out to prove him wrong, that I'm not going to have that surplus. And I was actually wrong. And like, I did end up having that surplus. And I went, "Oh my gosh, I really can do this." And then there was like all this excitement going, "Oh my gosh, we really can actually do this." Oh, and he said to me as well, you know that fear of FOMO, fear of missing out? Yeah, he said to me, "Oh, you don't have a fear of missing out. You have a fear of messing up, FOMO." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He went, "Because I'd fought so hard for everything that I've done. I didn't want to lose. I even said to my husband, I may make us bankrupt doing this, but I will get us out of it," because I was so nervous about going into this journey. And here we are, and it's all done. I went, "Oh my goodness." So now I'm actually just laser focused on, I've got to pay the principal house off.
So we'll get to unpacking the plan in terms of what that story looks like, because I think there's a message in that particular story. Just for context, you've got 3 kids, obviously a husband who's Nathan. Tell us how Nathan has come along on this journey, because obviously one of the biggest challenges we also see in terms of belief systems and barriers is getting both of you on the same page. It comes up quite a lot, I wish my husband or I wish my wife, would get on board with what we're trying to do here. Tell us about that journey, because obviously you started out as a naysayer and a non-believer. Did Nathan have similar sort of mindset restrictions as well?
Yes, he did. He was actually worse than me. But I didn't tell him straight away, not going to lie. I did all of my research first of all, and I went in with my plan of attack. And I went, right, this is what we've got. And then I told him to listen to all of the property couch. He only got through, I think, 5 of them. So, actually, he might have got through more. I'd have to ask him. But I made him listen to that so he understood it first of all and had the information. And then but he was willing to listen because he knows I've got us to where we are now. I've always budgeted with him. I've taught him the budgeting because he had no financial skills for growing up either. So I've taught him a lot about where we are, and I've got us to where we are. So he took the gamble and went, "Okay, if you believe in it, then we'll go together with this." And I went, "Okay."
So tell me this, Laraine. You just said that you might make us bankrupt, but I'll get us out of it if we do, right? Can you rewind the tape and just what was going through your mind that thought, if I do this, it might make me bankrupt? Was it just a fear of not having enough knowledge and a little bit of blind faith? What
Yes.
was causing you to make that statement?
Yeah, because I'm not educated in property investment. I was relying on what I was being shown through the podcast and what I was reading. I tried to do it all, but I knew my research and I had to back myself enough to go, I believe I can do it. You have to believe I can do it, but if something goes wrong, I had to just tell him I will get us out of it. So that's what I did. I told him I'd get out, and now we don't have to get out of anything. I just didn't want to lose the roof over our head. I don't know why I thought we would. I had those, you go in with life, you've got to have a couple of plans in place, and one is it's going to work, one is it's not. That was my not, but I told him I will make it work. I will find a way.
Now, in terms of the discovery component of that story, Laraine, you obviously, once you spoke to your sister and you were giving her a couple of back of envelope numbers,
Yep.
when you finally, engaged with Ben and started to work in terms of you organised and you basically put all of your financial numbers together. So if you think about the Money Smart system and what we teach in the book in terms of organise and calculate all of that number, how confident were you when you started to see money in, money out? And you were, how much stress testing did you do on the expenditure side to really believe that surplus was going to be real?
Oh, I had us like we were poor people. It's like, not poor, that's really offensive. I mean, I made us like scrimp because we don't really pay for much. And then I was like, oh, hang on, we can actually go for that holiday. And then Ben said, well, we'll put in for like a $5,000 holiday a year. And I went, oh no, we can't do that. And then it's like, oh, actually we can. And so I had stress tested and still had so much surplus, which I was so surprised at. Maybe I just didn't sit down and actually look at the numbers properly. Maybe I thought it was all lies because maybe I just didn't see it coming, and I was just grinding through the job and didn't actually take the time to see what we actually had in front of us. And we must have wasted a lot too.
Now I see you're running the Money Smart system inside the platform as well. So that is also giving you further reinforcement. So coming back to what Bryce was saying before about breaking old beliefs and creating new habits, tell us a little bit about that work that you're doing in terms of running your Money Smart system and how that is now building new muscle memory and new habits around tracking your cash flow.
So in your Money Smarts, you've got goals. I never actually fully thought having a home loan was a goal to pay off. I thought it was just something there that you have to pay. It just isn't always out of your account. You don't pay it, like I did pay it off in advance, but I didn't have an end point for that. Then there was in there, well, when do you want to pay this off? And when do you want to do these things? And I went, hang on a minute. Oh yeah, I can actually do that. So I actually went through last week to make sure because I've paid off a couple of other things, because the deposit on the house that we bought. So I've paid that off. I've got these goals in place to see it's actually coming. It's actually happening. So I've had to tweak it around, for the food bill. So the food bill keeps going up for the kids because they're 3 boys, they're teenagers. So, I do keep tweaking it that way and I'm just solely focused on that rather than I had an Excel spreadsheet a long time ago, or I used to do the jar system and put it all in jars, like legitimate little plastic jars. Then I went to an Excel spreadsheet, but I lost control of that. Now this has actually made it easier to have it visually sitting there, where I can just go in and tweak it, add in my monthly. I didn't do last month's actually, but I'm just tracking it. I'm seeing it go up, which is great. So it keeps my goals ahead. That I'm okay. I'm going to be okay.
And tell me about how that's giving you that reinforced confidence. That hence you just said it there. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, no, it is. I am confident now. Now I'm just money hungry. now I just pay off my home loan. Yeah, no, it is. It reaffirms that this is an actual good process. This actually did work. There wasn't money that was found that I thought that the surplus was wrong. This just keeps confirming that it was right and that I am still ahead and I am still going ahead but I have to remind myself to keep going back to it and keep updating it. So, don't let it slip into that old habit. So I do. So I've got it up on the fridge as well but that's only finance goals. And so I keep so that it reminds me to go back and keep updating and putting in my account details, like where my accounts are sitting at. So that's how I've done it that way. I've got it on the fridge as well, like in just a rough outline.
Beautiful.
So tell us a bit about conversations with your kids now. You just mentioned then that you're putting stuff up on the fridge, so it's now visible part of your kids' world. Even if you're not talking about it, they can see it, right? If we go back to the original part, kids should be seen and not heard. How are you changing the conversation now? Is that something that with the increased confidence that you're getting, and we can see that, is that something that you want to now start, if not already, start having those conversations with the kids?
Yeah, no, my poor children were in this process the whole way through now. They were listening to the podcast in the car as well. So every time we would have an interview, I would sit down and talk to them all about it. But my 17-year-old, he turned around and I said, when are you going to move out of home? And he says to me, oh, well, actually, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to rent vest and I'll live off you. And I went, oh my gosh, this is only a couple of months ago. So now they're actually turning it around to go, oh, we can do this too. Mum's doing it. So I've taken them on this journey. I used to make them save though. If the grandparents gave them, $50, they had to save some and spend some. So, but now they're little savers and they want to live off me. So I've really tried to not be what I was taught.
Well, can we give a little shout out to the kids, right? They can actually set up their own Money Smart system on the platform as well.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can create, so anyone really over the age of 4 to 100 years of age can actually run money smart. So rather than sort of using that to save for a home deposit, but that's probably what they could be saving for, or they could be saving for a car or whatever that is. But yeah, absolutely, they can set up their own account and start to run their own finances. So
Yeah, but then they won't leave home.
I was going to say, how do you feel about them not wanting to leave home? You're probably really proud of the fact they don't want to leave home and live off you now, because they're channeling the energy where it needs to go.
Yeah, true.
Hey, Laraine, you've just learned how to build this portfolio in arguably one of the toughest environments of the last decade, right? We're in one of the tightest rate tightening cycles we've experienced, and so tell us a little bit about what that looks like, because people like Ben and I have been doing it for a long time. We get the luxury of just getting in the helicopter, going 30,000 feet, and just going, this is a decades game. We've been here before. We know what to do, right? But for someone who's just experiencing this world that you've just described with us for the first time in an environment where there's lots of external noise, there's interest rate tightening, all those sorts of things. Talk to us a little bit about what that impact has had on you and how you've navigated that.
Yeah, true. But when we were doing all of our numbers and I knew our income and I knew what my loan repayments were going to be, and I feel Ben had worked it out as to how much we could pay. I can't remember what it was, but we'd worked out well in advance that we could pay it with a surplus regardless so I'd worked out I can pay for the home loan, both of them, even if I didn't have a tenant. So we'd already worked that out. So I know this sounds terrible, but I'm okay. I'm not really that worried at the moment. I'm just writing it out, knowing that the income's coming in. I know I've still got my surplus, so I just keep going back and looking at my plan and going, right, this works because of this, this, and this. And I'm just writing that. So every time so my sister told me, whenever you have a negative moment, just go back to your plan, have a look at your plan and reconfirm why you're doing it and that it's going to be okay. So that's all I do. But I haven't needed to yet because it's okay. All my numbers are safe. Does that make sense? Like the numbers are okay. The numbers were laid out in front of me, so...
And it does. I mean, that's the beautiful part about doing detailed cash flow analysis, right? And thinking about future pacing. And as you were saying, you've got growing kids, so the grocery budget's going up, but you've also got provisioning for maintenance on the property.
Yep.
And as you've just been saying, you've stress tested it to say, even if we don't have a tenant in the property, we can still cover both of those mortgages. Now, we may potentially experience one or two more rate increases, but again, we've also provisioned for those inside the models as well. So that's potentially where, again, you get further confidence around that particular story. And I'm obviously getting access into the platform, and I can see your plan that Ben's produced. I can see it's an exciting, but it's not this sort of 10 properties, 7 properties. No. It's a couple of properties complementing the superannuation that you're earning. You're doing a bit of salary sacrificing in there as well. And so 2 properties plus your principal place of residence, and you're targeting an $80,000 a year passive income. Yep. To your point, I just want what I've got now, and then I just want that holiday in the Whitsunday sitting there at Airlie Beach, looking out over the beautiful blue aqua waters that I know very well myself, for that sort of month or 2 or whatever that's going to look like. I mean, that's just incredible. I mean, it's just, this is what we talk about in terms of the financial transformation story, that we want all of our community to understand that it's possible. And you don't have to be on mega salaries. You don't have to have huge levels of financial commitment. We say the biggest amount of work that we have to do is around mindset, and it's about changing old beliefs, and it's about seeing your numbers for what they are. And in some cases, we do have to adjust some spending habits, but in other cases, it's more of, here's the potential opportunity. And really that's the way we look at it, clarify, evaluate, and we're talking about potential opportunity and then realizing that. And our job in this podcast and our job through our advisory business is to be the guide. You are the hero. You and Nathan are the heroes of your journey. Our job is to just extract that belief out of you that you're going to be able to do this.
Yeah. Well, you did it.
Hey, tell us a little bit about why you decided to come on to the property couch, Laraine. I know I gave you a call. I planted the idea with you, and I remember the conversation. You said, "What? There's nothing in my story that anyone would be interested in listening to." Well, I think we've just proved that that's not true.
I know.
But why did you say yes? What was the part of your story that you wanted to share the most?
Do you know, it's going back to, we're a team to save one person, right? And if I can do it and get out, well, you know what? Other people could get out too. So you helped me to get out. So I was happy to help you get the message to all of my peers and my colleagues that, hey, you know what? Because we all sit there and talk about this, like, how do we get out of here? We can't see this forever. It's breaking all of us. And you know what? Maybe they could find a way out as well. Just maybe.
All right, so your story is inspiring, Laraine. It is very inspiring, and I've enjoyed it immensely. I want to ask you a couple of closing questions for me. First of all, how does it feel for you to have now got a pathway that you've now got this finish line in sight, and all of the things that you can put aside that we read out in that email? How does it feel on an achievement level? But most of all, how will it feel to you as a human, right? Because you've set this story up where you're the battler, your sister was the one who wasn't the battler, different paths. But I think what started as a fork in the road is very quickly coming back together, right?
Yeah.
Because she may be a little richer than you at the moment, as measured by income, but wealth is actually measured by time. So what you've actually done is by building this pathway that you have, your worlds will come back together where you're both going to have the same amount of time in the week to spend, and no one's going to be better off than any other person. And so for me, I'm interested to know how that feels in your heart to go, I thought that we were going to be eternally different, but now all of a sudden there is a very strong case that is no longer the truth. We are the same, and we will have the same things. I'm interested in those two things for you.
Oh, it does. It does feel really good, but it's still. I think it's still too new to believe that, and it'll take time. Because I put her on a pedestal. She's brilliant. She's worked so hard to get where she is, and she took me on this journey and convinced me. So I think it'll take time, and it'll be when I'm finally sitting back where I go, oh my God, I'll probably look back and go, oh my gosh, I really did do it, and then I'll be amazed. I think I'm pushing ahead now. I'm staying focused, and I'm not trying. I don't want to jinx it, so to speak. I just want to push on, and when I get there, then I'm probably going to be going, oh my God, I'm going to get so excited and go, we really did do this. But I did do that when we bought that house. I was like, oh my God, we actually bought this house. So we now own this other property, which is amazing. I still can't believe that. We have done drive-bys.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Hey, listen, thank you to your sister for giving you that first nudge. There's obviously a good story in that. That family is there to support each other and just basically giving you the confidence to ask the question. I want to close the loop on the story with your mum and dad, leaving home, finding your own path. How is that relationship in terms of the support and the love in that part about where you're going? And I'm sure, like all great parents, there's always love and support, even though, as you say, you had to find your own pathway. Tell us, just close that loop out for us in terms of the connection that you have with your folks.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I don't think they could believe I could do it. Or they probably believed I could do it, but I just wasn't doing it. Then I took them past our house and they went, you really did do this. And they were so proud of me because they saw the potential. And then finally I got there, and I think they're relieved. They're relieved that I'm finally at this point. But they are so happy for me. And they know that I can get out. I can get out because they don't like hearing all the stories of what we see. So they go, you know what, she's going to be okay. It's almost like that. It's going to be okay. Finally, it's going to be okay. There's an end. I know that sounds so cliche, but there is.
No, that's the beautiful story of life, right? That's the circle of life and things coming back. And we all have, you've got 3 boys, Bryce got 2 boys, I've got 2 boys, where we're constantly thinking about the world in which they're going to grow up in.
Yes.
We're constantly thinking about the challenges that they may be facing. And we just want the best for our kids, and we want to know that they're going to be safe and that they're going to be able to cope in what is a changing world. And so your story for them is they've solidified that in you. Obviously, they've got confidence in your sister in terms of how she's also progressing through, but we all have the same fears. Our boys are just coming into adolescence and their first teenage years. There's a lot of thinking going on about how we're going to provide for our boys and make sure that they can find the right pathways and not make those mistakes. Yeah. So I think that's also a really positive story here. The other loop that I wanted to close, which is my final question, is how is Nathan feeling about all of this? How is that story looking in terms of confidence that you've now got a property?
Oh, he's so cheeky now because I did all the hard work and now he's spruiking it off to everybody. so he's really happy. I did all the hard yards. But no, he's really happy. He's really happy with what we did. He really is showing everybody. He's naughty.
That's brilliant.
That's wonderful. Everyone's on board. At least you're having conversations in the household that are positive and reinforcing, and you're both moving in the same direction, which of course is the number one reason for divorce issues is because of financial divergence, right? So we've got to be excited about Nathan jumping on your coattails and all the hard work. But you epitomise everything that we want in Winter Series, Laraine. Just to show people that by changing mindsets, implementing action, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, all those sorts of things just sort of permeate through your story in such a wonderful way. And I think that the goal for us with Winter Series is always for our community to hear people and go, if it works for them, maybe it can work for me. That's our eternal hope from doing Winter and Summer Series. So I think that you showcase that and you've done it beautifully. So on behalf of everyone here on the Property Couch, I was going to say on the Summer Series, on behalf of everyone here on the Property Couch, thanks for being brave and courageous and sharing your story. And again, I'll double down on thanks for everything that you do professionally to help the souls that you do.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope you get some benefit out of it.
I think our community will. Thanks, Laraine.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Laraine. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go, Ben. That was how infectious was she, mate? She had the most incredible energy, but I feel like I'm really grateful that she allowed us to read out that email because it really set the tone for what was really driving her and what was really important. And I think that apart from the fact that she's doing amazing things in the community, there is hope for her. And I just loved seeing the way that she sort of portrayed that hope that she has for hers and her family's life.
I agree. There's so much in that story about changing beliefs, and it did remind me of a couple. I've been very fortunate, right, in terms of doing hundreds of interviews and professionally doing hundreds and hundreds of plans over the journey. And it reminded me of a couple of examples of initial meetings that I had with clients where I'd literally say, lovely to meet you. How's it all going? Oh, you're not going to be able to help us. Oh, okay. Well, yes, I probably won't be able to help you. Like it was just a straight away. It's like, everything was negative. Everything was, no, you're not going to be able to help us. Oh no, our situation's different. You can't help us. And I said, I tell you what I can't do. If we've got that type of mindset, I am not going to be able to help you. So that is true. So, but here, I said, just do me a favour. Let's just go through the exercise of gathering and sorting and having a look at the cash flows and then tell me whether I can't help you or not. Because exactly the same sort of story that Laraine and Nathan went through in terms of making the invisible visible. and having that opportunity. So a big shout out also to her sister who just basically said,
Yeah.
I reckon it's worth a conversation. Like there's nothing lost in having a conversation with a professional advisor who's going to sit there and ask a few questions. But if you have that limiting belief that it's not, you're not worthy, it's not possible for me, our circumstances are different, and you have that glass half empty aspect, it isn't going to happen for you. But what a transformation! You hear the excitement in her voice around. We've driven past the property a couple of times. I mean, it's real. It's happening. And even though property is a slow burn, and it's going to take time for that to be realised, it's like, man, this is why we do what we do. We love it. Our community gives us more than we give them. We just see these people making these amazing transformations and are getting on with being able to look after themselves and self-determining their outcomes. It is just such a privilege, isn't it, Bryce, to be able to be a part of that story.
100%. Battlers can still get ahead. There is no exclusive club, as we said in that interview. So really, what it demonstrates more than any sort of platitude that you and I can say around money is simple, behaviour is hard, that was actually just a showcase of that, right? Because when she went through and she said, this seems quite straightforward. And so the money bit was the simple bit. It was the gaming of behaviour that she'd have demonstrated was the hard part. So well done, Laraine. We think you're an awesome human. We loved having that conversation with you.
And all of our emergency service workers and all of those people who do the work that they do. I mean, emergency departments, ED, AMBOs, you guys are amazing right across this country, right across the world. You do the most difficult work. You do the most rewarding work when you are saving lives. I mean, it's just, Bryce and I, we help people with their money story, but you guys play with people's and help people survive and get through the difficult, injuries and accidents. It's just incredible work that you guys do. But to Lorraine's point there, you guys keep doing that great work. But if you go and speak to a professional advisor that can help you as well, because it doesn't have to be one or the other. You can do these things together. We teach you how to trap your surplus and then make that money work harder for you because of all the people, the teachers, the doctors, the nurses, the fireys, the police officers, the people who put themselves in harm's way. That is the most rewarding work that professional advisors on our side of the fence get to see because you do what matters and then it allows us to do our impactful work in terms of helping you get to the outcome that you're looking for. So you can sit on that park bench and have your chips and look out over the ocean and effectively release all of that stress for yourself, knowing that, you don't have to worry about money. And I think, that's a powerful message to all those amazing people out there who do that critical work day in, day out, day and night. It's just incredible in terms of what they do.
Well said, Ben. I double down on everything you just said. So well said. Hey, enjoying Winter Series, Ben. Looking forward to the next edition next week. But I suppose we probably got a sneaky little nod to what's happening this weekend. I would have thought.
Well, now that you're a Pies supporter, I was just wondering whether you want to come along and cheer on.
Didn't even work, did it? Didn't even give you the kiss of death after doing that.
Didn't work, no. But anyway, yes, we've got the big game this weekend. We will see how it goes. I'll probably, if I have an opportunity, I'll wander there, go and have a look. Mate, I've got a spare ticket if you want to come along, cheer on the black and white.
Yeah, let me check my. Oh no, I've got something on, mate. I can't see what it is in the diary, but there's something on. So no gap year, mate. I've got to be fulfilled. I've got to fulfil on the promise of the gap year. So someone wrote into us and said, I can't remember where it was. I'm just loving the emotional ups and downs of hearing Bryce as a Freo supporter. I'm like, yeah, that's nice as a form of entertainment for everyone who's not experiencing it, but for me that is. It's a little bit tough. But anyway, we digress. But obviously we needed to. Yes. Acknowledge, Ben, that the battle of your top place Pies and I can't even remember which part of the 8 that we're in down the bottom, Ben. But anyway, thanks again, Laraine. We think you're a legend.
Legend.
And the phone call I had with you when I asked you to come on and you said, There's nothing in my story that I think anyone will be interested in, I promise you. Folks, actually reach out to us on socials and let us know which part of Laraine's story actually impacted you the most, because then we could show her, which would be wonderful. But anyway, mate, until next week.
Knowledge is empowering, but only if you act on it like Laraine and Nathan did. Great story.
Like what you did there, Ben. See you next week, folks.